They know who I am. And I go through my entire life with that lens on, having to kind of present myself because the world knows me since I was 16.
The buzz began when paparazzi spotted a woman checking into a $100 a night motel with 5 children. She looked exhausted. She looked broken. And she was the daughter of the man who built a $600 million television empire and lived in a mansion bigger than the White House. Her mother was sitting 42 floors above Los Angeles in a penthouse worth $35 million. She could see the whole city from up there, but she could not see her own daughter sleeping in a motel room with her grandchildren. This is the story of Tori Spelling, and it is far more disturbing than you think. The $800,000 shock. Let us start with the moment that changed everything, because once you understand this, the rest of the story makes perfect sense. Aaron Spelling died on June 23, 2006. He was 83 years old and had suffered a stroke 5 days earlier. But here is a detail most people do not know. Alzheimer's disease was listed as a contributing factor on his actual death certificate. That detail matters, and I will explain why in just a moment. Aaron's estate was worth somewhere between $500 million and $600 million. He was the most successful television producer in American history. The man had 218 producer credits and had created 3,842 hours of television content. So when he passed away, everyone assumed his daughter Tori, the girl he had spoiled her entire life, the girl he had literally put on television, would inherit a massive fortune. She did not. Tori Spelling received approximately $800,000. Her brother Randy got the same amount. And the remaining $598 million plus went almost entirely to their mother, Candy Spelling, who was named as the sole trustee of the estate. She had complete and total control over everything. Now here is where it gets really interesting. The estate was not structured as a regular will. It was organized as a trust, and it contained something called a no contest clause. That meant if Tori or Randy tried to legally challenge the arrangement, they would risk losing even that $800,000. It was a legal trap, and it worked. Neither of them ever filed a challenge. But the most suspicious detail of all is this. The estate plan was reportedly modified just 2 months before Aaron died. 2 months. And remember what we said about Alzheimer's being on his death certificate? That raises serious questions about whether Aaron was even in a clear state of mind when those changes were made. Nobody knows for certain who pushed for those changes, or why, but the timing is impossible to ignore. Tori described the moment she found out. She said her father took her to lunch and told her she was going to be okay, that he had made sure she would get just under $1 million. She later said on Lisa Vanderpump's show, Overserved, that she sometimes wondered what would have happened if he had given her $50 million instead. She asked out loud, what if with that money, she could have changed the world? Her first husband, Charlie Shanian, offered a completely different explanation years later. He said in a 2023 interview that Aaron structured the inheritance that way on purpose because he wanted Tori to stay connected to Candy. He believed that by making Tori financially dependent on her mother, it would force the two of them to have a relationship. Shanian described Tori as crying and upset, not about the money itself, but about what the structure of the will said about how her father saw her. Now, $800,000 from a $600 million estate sounds insane on its own. But to truly understand how devastating this was for Tori, you need to see the world she grew up in, because the gap between where she started and where that inheritance left her is almost beyond belief. Born into a billion-dollar empire, Aaron Spelling was the son of Jewish immigrants in Dallas, Texas. He had nothing growing up, but he built himself into the most prolific television producer in American history. Guinness World Records actually certified him as the world's most prolific producer of television drama. He had 218 producer credits and produced 3,842 hours of television content. That is enough to fill 3.5 years of primetime television, 7 nights a week, without a single rerun. ABC was jokingly called the Aaron Broadcasting Company during its peak years because its shows dominated the entire network. He even helped launch the fledgling Fox network with 90210. By the height of his career, Aaron Spelling was worth an estimated $600 million, and the way he spent that money was as extraordinary as the way he earned it. Aaron and Candy purchased the former Bing Crosby estate in Holmby Hills in 1983, demolished the original house, and began building what would become the largest home in Los Angeles County. The construction took from 1986 to 1991. Over 150 workers showed up every single day. They used more than 500 tons of steel. The architect James Langenheim designed a French, chateau-inspired limestone palace, and interior designer Robert Daly spent 8 years purchasing furnishings from England, Italy, and France. The finished mansion covered 56,500 square feet, larger than the White House and even bigger than the Taj Mahal. It had 123 rooms, including 14 bedrooms, 27 bathrooms, 5 kitchens, and several bars. The main bedroom alone was 7,000 square feet. Inside were a bowling alley, ice rink, screening room, wine lounge, doll room, and even gift wrapping spaces. Outside stood rose gardens, tennis courts, and parking for 100 cars. 30 staff members ran the estate, and yearly taxes reached $1.12 million. Later, Candy admitted she never truly understood how massive it would be. Tori Spelling was born directly into this world. On May 16, 1973, she never knew anything else. Her birthday parties were legendary. One featured a Raggedy Ann theme where a plane flew overhead pulling a Happy Birthday Tori banner and dropped a small parachute carrying a gift. It landed in a tree and a carnival worker had to climb up to get it. Special permits were required for the low flyover. Aaron had originally planned to build a petting zoo on the property just for Tori, but construction took so long that by the time the house was finished in 1991, Tori was already 17 years old. Growing up in the Spelling mansion was materially lavish but emotionally complicated. The famous fashion designer Nolan Miller would design the children's Halloween costumes. Candy would confiscate all the trick-or-treat candy because she was paranoid about razor blades, and then replace it with pre-assembled bags she had put together herself. At 16, Candy encouraged Tori to get a rhinoplasty, and she went through with it. At 19, she got breast implants at what she described as a local strip mall. Decades later, in 2022, she had the implants replaced and turned the originals into lucite bookends that she gave to Dean as a gift. It was a world where appearances mattered more than anything else, where image was everything, and where real emotional connection always came second. Tori was Aaron's clear favorite. He doted on her endlessly, giving her everything she wanted, including a career. When she auditioned for Beverly Hills 90210 under a fake name, she landed the role of Donna Martin. Though the show made her famous, insiders noted that her father's influence was the real force behind her casting. As Tori herself later wrote, "Bad shopping habits die hard because she grew up never having to worry about money." She admitted in 2019 that she had a business manager since she was 18 and never once handled her own finances. She said she never quite learned about money. This was the golden world Tori Spelling knew, but it was all about to come crashing down because of a man she met on a film set in Ottawa, Canada, and the chain of destruction that followed would cost Tori not just her fortune, but her family. The marriage that tore everything apart. Before Dean McDermott, there was Charlie Sheehan, and the way that first marriage ended set off a chain of events that would ultimately cost Tori everything she had. Tori married Charlie on July 3, 2004, in a lavish ceremony at the Manor. Charlie was an actor and playwright. She had met in 2002 while co-starring in his play, Maybe Baby It's You. Aaron paid for the entire $1 million wedding, 400 guests, Wolfgang Puck catering, 12 bridesmaids. It was the kind of event only a Spelling could throw. 15 months later, Tori was filming a Lifetime movie in Ottawa. That is where she met Dean McDermott. Both of them were married. Dean had been with Mary Jo Eustace for about 12 years, and they had a son together. Tori and Dean slept together the first night they met. Tori wrote about it openly in her memoir, saying it was love at first sight and that when she woke up next to Dean the next morning, she had no regrets. Charlie Sheehan found out about the affair partly by opening the National Enquirer and seeing photographs of what appeared to be his wife giving another man a lap dance. When he confronted Tori at their therapist's office, she admitted everything. He later learned that she had only married him because he loved her and took care of her, and that she had purposefully shown him only 10% of her true personality. As of a 2021 report, his publishing profile still listed Tori as his wife years after the divorce. The story of Dean's first wife is even more heartbreaking. Dean told Mary Jo Eustace about Tori during a family vacation in Palm Springs. What makes it truly devastating is that they were in the middle of adopting their daughter, Lola, at the time. The baby had just been born in July 2005. Eustace confronted Tori directly, begging her not to destroy their family. Tori reportedly brought a knife to the meeting, a strange detail she actually confirmed in her memoir. Dean abandoned the adoption process entirely. Mary Jo had to complete it as a single parent. Dean married Tori just 30 days after his divorce from Mary Jo was finalized. By 2017, Mary Jo filed court documents claiming Dean owed over $100,000 in combined child support and alimony, while simultaneously going on luxury vacations to Iceland and the Four Seasons in Mexico, living in a $2 million estate that she claimed was paid for by Tori Spelling. Aaron and Candy were horrified. They had just spent $1 million on the wedding to Charlie. When Tori tried to introduce them to Dean by sending Candy a note, Candy reportedly sent back a single sentence. It said Tori needed to get her things out of the apartment because Tori and Charlie had been living in a property that Candy owned. Tori eloped with Dean in Wakaya, Fiji, on May 7, 2006, with roughly 5 people present and a People magazine crew for exclusive photos. No parents, no family. 6 weeks later, Aaron suffered a stroke. He died at the manor on June 23, 2006. Tori was not at his side. She was in Toronto, and she learned about her own father's death from a friend who had seen a news report and sent her an email. Not a phone call from her mother, not a text from her brother, an email from a friend. Candy told a very different story. She claimed Aaron had called Tori every single day during his final months and that Tori never returned a single call. She said they had to tell Aaron every day that no, Tori had not called back. Aaron was entombed at Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery in Culver City after a private funeral. The affair destroyed 2 marriages, shattered Tori's relationship with her parents, and left Aaron heartbroken in his final months. And if you are thinking that the $800,000 inheritance was Aaron's punishment for all of this, you might be right. But what happened to Tori's finances after that inheritance makes it look like a fortune compared to where she ended up. Dean McDermott and the financial free fall. $800,000 is a lot of money for most people. It is not a lot of money when you have grown up spending $50,000 in a single shopping trip, which is exactly what Candy told the New York Times her daughter used to do. And it is definitely not enough money when you are married to Dean McDermott. The financial collapse of Tori Spelling was not one bad decision. It was a decade-long avalanche of lawsuits, tax liens, and debts that eventually totaled more than $2.5 million. Let's break down the actual numbers because they are staggering. In January 2016, American Express sued Tori for $37,981.97 in unpaid credit card debt. That same year, they filed a second lawsuit for $87,594.55 on her Platinum card. When she refused to pay, Amex got a court order, and in April 2020, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department seized $88,731.25 directly from her bank account. By June 2025, with accumulated interest, that debt had ballooned to $395,729.82, and neither of them had paid a single dollar toward it. Then there were the taxes. A federal IRS lien of $707,487 was filed in 2016. California added a state lien of $259,108. More federal liens of $184,390 came in 2017. More state liens followed in 2018. The IRS reportedly emptied their bank accounts at one point. And right in the middle of all this financial destruction, Dean McDermott decided to have an affair. In December 2013, Dean met a 28-year-old woman named Emily Goodhand at a vodka bar in Toronto. He was there promoting a cooking show called Chopped Canada. He slipped his hotel room key and his phone number into her purse. They spent 2 days together at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel. Goodhand later told Us Weekly that Dean told her he and Tori had a sexless marriage and that she believed him. Now here is the bizarre twist. Some people questioned whether Emily Goodhand was even a real person. TMZ pointed out that no social media accounts existed for her. The story conveniently broke just 6 months before the premiere of True Tori on Lifetime, a reality show about Tori dealing with Dean's cheating. Was the whole thing staged for ratings? Tori insisted it was real. She said she wished Emily did not exist, and that she did not know who would fake something that destroyed their life. Dean checked himself into rehab on January 23, 2014. He later admitted that he had been drinking heavily and using illegal substances. Their divorce was finally filed on March 29, 2024, and finalized on November 13, 2025. The settlement revealed the full picture of the financial wreckage: joint legal custody, no child support, no spousal support. They split the $1.7 million tax debt 50-50. Dean was earning $3,800 a month as a substance abuse counselor. Tori's income fluctuated wildly between $3,000 and $75,000 a month, depending on whatever gig she could find. Celebrity net worth estimated both of them at a negative $200,000, and with her finances in ruins and her marriage destroyed, the one person who could have saved her was the same person she had not spoken to in years: her mother. But that relationship had become one of the ugliest public feuds Hollywood has ever seen. The mother-daughter war. The feud between Tori and Tori Spelling was not a simple disagreement. It was a 20-year war fought through competing best-selling books, open letters posted on TMZ, radio show accusations, and tabloid exclusives that would make your jaw drop. The estrangement had been building since Tori left Charlie for Dean. Candy felt personally betrayed after spending $1 million on that wedding. But Aaron's death and the inheritance made everything worse. Tori felt shut out, not just financially but emotionally. She wrote in her 2018 memoir, Story, telling that her mother was manipulative and image-obsessed. That book hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Candy fired back the next year with Stories from Candyland, also a bestseller, where she painted herself as the loving mother who had been pushed away by a daughter in the grip of a bad marriage. In April 2009, she posted an open letter on her website, begging to see her grandchildren. She told 2020 that she was the only living grandparent and that she had never even met her granddaughter Stella, who was already over a year old. Then Candy crossed every line imaginable. On a radio show in May 2009, she blamed Tori for Aaron's death. She said that Tori's decision to stop speaking to the family is what killed her husband. She said he just did not want to live after that. A mother blaming her daughter for her father's death on live radio. In July 2009, Candy published another open letter on TMZ addressed to what she called middle-aged reality show stars, clearly meaning Tori, accusing her of turning her grandchildren into reality show props. But Candy was not completely heartless about money. She told TMZ she was covering Tori's house, the kids' schools, and their food. She drew the line at extras and back payments. When Tori ended up living in an RV in 2023, Candy's Instagram was flooded with angry comments demanding she help her daughter and grandchildren. Candy responded by disabling all comments. Sources close to Candy said the family felt Tori got herself into this situation and should get herself out. Reports also said Candy found a house for Tori, but Tori turned it down because she wanted to live in a specific area. In her 2014 memoir, Candy at Last, Candy made a rare admission. She said that in therapy, she learned she was passive-aggressive and had poor communication skills. She quoted a line from the George Clooney movie, The Descendants, about wanting your children to have enough money to do something but not enough to do nothing. She said that pretty much summed up how she felt. The reconciliation came in 2022, and it happened in the strangest way possible. Josh Flagg, the real estate agent from $1 Million Listing, arranged a family dinner at Candy's penthouse. It was the first dinner in 20 years with just Tori, Randy, and Candy. No spouses, no children, just the three of them. Tori later said they now text every single day. When Candy lost her $23 million Malibu home in the January 2025 Palisades fire, it created a shared experience of loss that brought them even closer. 20 years of silence, and it took a reality TV real estate agent to fix it. A guy who sells mansions on cable television picked up the phone and made the call that 2 decades of pain could not make happen on its own. But while the family was slowly finding its way back together, Tori's public life was still spiraling toward its lowest point. Reality TV, Reinvention, and rock bottom. Throughout all of this chaos, Tori never stopped working. After Beverly Hills 90210 ended in 2000, she spent 2 decades trying to turn her fame into enough money to survive. She tried everything: reality shows, books, businesses, competition shows, podcasts. Nothing was ever enough. Reality TV started with Tori and Dean in love on Oxygen in 2007, where they ran a bed and breakfast called Chateau La Rue in Fallbrook, California. They never actually bought the property. The show rebranded as Home Sweet Hollywood and broke Oxygen's ratings records at 1.4 million viewers. True Tori on Lifetime in 2014 showed their raw therapy sessions on camera while millions watched. Critics called it exploitative. Viewers could not look away. A $60 million lawsuit was filed by writers who claimed the concept for storybook weddings was stolen from them. She wrote 6 books, Storytelling and Celebra. Tori were both New York Times #1 bestsellers. In her last book, she dropped all pretense and wrote that it was no mystery why she had money problems, because she grew up rich, beyond anyone's wildest dreams, and never knew anything else. She launched an antique boutique called Inventory in Sherman Oaks that closed within 3 years. She created a jewelry line for HSN, a DIY line for Joann Fabrics, a children's clothing line called Little Maven, and a lifestyle platform called Editorial. None of them lasted. The BH 90210 revival in 2019 paid her $85,000 per episode, totaling $510,000 for 6 episodes. It was not renewed. She went on Dancing with the Stars in 2024 and was eliminated in the 2nd week alongside Anna Delvey, placing 12th. She competed on The Masked Singer as the unicorn, and then came the moment that would define her story forever. In July 2023, after fleeing a mold-infested rental that she said had been slowly killing her family for 3 years, Tori and all 5 of her children were photographed at a $100 a night motel. The photos went viral around the world. A few weeks later, paparazzi found them living in a Sunseeker RV at a campground in Ventura County. When photographers confronted her outside a Target, Tori looked straight at them and asked if they were parents and said they would do whatever they could for their kids too. Her daughter Stella was bullied at school, with classmates asking where her RV was parked. A woman who once had a plane drop birthday presents from the sky was now choosing between a motel room and a recreational vehicle for her family of 6. The contrast between where she started and where she ended up is one of the most extreme falls from wealth Hollywood has ever witnessed. And through all of it, her mother sat in a penthouse 42 floors above Los Angeles with $600 million and a gift wrapping room. But the story does not end there because the Spelling fortune is still very much alive, and what happens to it next could change everything. The price of it all here is where we stand today, and this might be the most incredible part of the entire story. Candy Spelling's fortune has not just survived, it has grown. Her estimated net worth in 2025 is approximately $600 million. She receives millions in annual royalties from Aaron's television catalog, which still generates revenue through streaming on Paramount+, Pluto TV, and Hulu. She produces Broadway shows and has won multiple Tony Awards, including for The Color Purple and After Midnight. Candy lives in a penthouse atop the Century Tower in Century City. The 18,000 square foot duplex on the 42nd floor has a saltwater swimming pool, a screening room, a spiral staircase, and yes, a gift wrapping room. Because some habits from the manor never die. She also keeps a $7.5 million New York apartment for her Broadway work. Her $23 million Malibu estate of 50 years was completely destroyed in the Palisades fire. The manor itself went through 3 sales after Candy left. She listed it for $150 million and sold it to Petra Ecclestone for $85 million in 2011. Petra sold it in 2019 for $119.7 million, a California record at the time. In August 2025, former Google CEO Eric Schmidt bought it for $110 million. But here is the detail that gives this story its final complicated layer. Candy has confirmed setting up trust funds for her grandchildren. She told People magazine that someday her grandchildren would know who she was because of the trusts she created. A $10 million trust fund was reportedly created for Liam, Tori's eldest son. Charlie Shanian also claimed in 2023 that Candy set up trusts for both Tori and Randy that they are not yet in control of. If that is true, there may be significant money waiting for Tori, but only on Candy's terms and on Candy's timeline. Randy Spelling chose a completely different life. He lives in Portland, Oregon, working as a life coach. He describes himself as a former addict who deliberately chose simplicity over wealth. He said 90% of the food his family eats is home-cooked. He was never estranged from Candy the way Tori was, and he played a key role in the 2022 reconciliation dinner. In many ways, Randy is the quiet proof that walking away from the Spelling fortune might have been the healthiest decision anyone in that family ever made. So was Aaron Spelling's plan a complete failure? Or did it work in the most painful way imaginable? He wanted Tori to stay connected to Candy. What actually happened was that Tori went broke, lived in motels and RVs, suffered through a cheating scandal, lost her marriage, and spent 20 years not speaking to her mother. But in the end, in 2022, Tori and Candy did sit down for dinner together. They do text every day now. It took 20 years of suffering and public humiliation. But Aaron's plan, in the most twisted and terrible way, might have actually worked. There is one last number that puts everything into perspective. Candy Spelling is worth $600 million. Tori Spelling is worth roughly $150,000. That means Candy could give Tori $1 million every single year for the next 600 years and still not run out of money. The money is right there. It has always been right there. But between the two women, there are 20 years of silence, 2 competing best-selling books, 1 radio accusation of causing a father's death, and an endless parade of tabloid headlines that turned a family tragedy into public entertainment. Money was never the real problem in the Spelling family. The real problem was that nobody knew how to say what they actually felt. And by the time they figured it out, 2 decades had already been lost. So what do you think? Was Aaron Spelling trying to protect Tori, or did he set her up for the worst years of her life? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we genuinely want to hear your take on this one.